Hello everyone. I welcome all of you for this introduction and a short and briefing webinar on whole building life cycle assessment. Myself Saravanan J. Bharati from Carbon Figure Academy. So what is whole building LCA? It is a comprehensive method used to evaluate the environmental impacts associated with all stages of a building's life, from its design consumption to construction to use to end of life. So if you see the simple direction images, we can understand it covers production of materials, the logistics, the building construction, use of the buildings, then the end of life of the buildings, just like demolition and further disposal. So if you see this picture which is being mentioned in the right side of the slide, shows different scopes which can be considered under whole building LCA. So we can simply say that from raw material extraction to disposal is the entire life cycle, but within which the intended element of the impact, the embodied carbon, lies across the life cycle stages. So how to address them in different terms and what it means? So when you do a typical whole building LCA based on the guideline, normally the building LCA would be carried out for green building certification purposes. So according to their guidelines and requirements, accordingly you should be able to define the boundaries of your building LCA. So understanding these different subsets of the entire building life cycle would be very much beneficial. So we can see that upfront embodied carbon, which includes A1 to A5. So you can see A0 and B8 and something. So unusual additions here, but still you can understand they are also proposed to be added. Maybe in future we may able to see some A0 in our impact assessment requirement, but still currently in our regular practice we are not considering A0, and the any other new module you see in this particular image, but you just need to understand there's a scope to add A0 into your upfront embodied carbon modules also, right? So typically leaving that A0, so we have A1 to A5 product stage plus construction stage, cumulatively called as upfront embodied carbon. So why it is called the upfront? Which means a building is being built that moment, right? The upfront embodied carbon is getting locked. So once the building is built, completed, the building phase, the construction phase, then we can't change that upfront embodied carbon. So since we cannot able to change the upfront embodied carbon once the construction is completed, we then move into the use phase so that we can try to cut down some embodied carbon which are associated with various activities such as usage, maintenance, repair, replacement, or refurbishments. So normally in case of an interior design project, we take the life cycle time as which means the use phase duration as minimum 20 years, and in case of a new construction we would take that lifetime as 50 years or 60 years as per the minimum requirement. So throughout that number of years, how much energy would be spent in terms of all those different activities. Then once that lifetime is getting over, we have end of life stage. So the C module comes into the picture. So during the end of life phase, automatically we can understand it is a demolition. So once the demolition is done, it is getting transported and sent to the processing location where something is processed and the remaining is getting disposed. So what is getting processed will be jumped into the module D, which means beyond the life cycle, the associated benefits of that particular materials which are involved in that particular building. So you can able to see that upfront embodied carbon plus B plus C together is called as life cycle embodied carbon. So in that life cycle embodied carbon, it is completely, we can say, embodied carbon. So embodied carbon plus operational carbon, we have whole life carbon, the blue color dots, right? So in case of this whole building LCA, what we intend to cover majorly is that life cycle embodied carbon. So we are not worry about that operational carbon, which means energy utilization or water use utilization and all. So we talk about materials and we care about how to cut down the embodied carbon of those materials which are going into the construction of a building, right? So that is the purpose of whole building LCA. So in case of green building facilitation frameworks, so we have lot of frameworks across the globe for different countries. For India, we have IGBC and GRIHA. And in IGBC or in GRIHA, we are not having the building level LCA as an important credit in terms of any major certification frameworks like new buildings or interior design buildings, all those things. But in IGBC, they have net zero carbon buildings where the entire focus is on the carbon footprint of a building. So it is automatically that embodied carbon will come into the picture and operational carbon will come into the picture. So if at all, if your building goes for IGBC net zero carbon building certification, then you may need to do this building level LCA for getting certain points. Apart from that, IGBC does not have any significance with respect to building level LCA. On the other hand, if you take LEED, so that's a US based green building rating system, yet being followed popularly and majorly across the globe, right? So in India also majorly apart from IGBC and GRIHA, we prefer LEED. And if you go to European Union countries, there BREEAM will be there. So let's take the LEED into the consideration. So in LEED, currently version 4.1 is in the active status, along with the early entries of LEED version 5 is also happening. But still, people may not go for version 5 so quickly, because that is not yet mandatorily to be followed. It is still in the transition zone, and from the next year April or May onwards, the LEED V5 will completely into the execution. So there won't be no more V4.1 and only V5. So in case of LEED V4.1, we have two portfolios like BD plus C and ID plus C. So in case of ID plus C, so we have that material and resources credit. Under that, we have that whole building life cycle assessment. So if you take ID plus C, the red color, so you can see it in the right side, and under material and resource credit option 3, we have that building interiors life cycle assessment. So what it intends to provide the life cycle assessment data with respect to baseline and proposed cases for the interior projects. So how many points you can maximum able to get? 1 to 2 points, right? So if you see the path 2 under the option 3, normally various paths would be prescribed there in the green building credit uh, uh, frameworks usually. So such a way under option 3 we have building LCA. Under that we have some few of the paths. So out of which path 2 says meet the requirements of path 1 and conduct a life cycle assessment of the project's interior design compared against the baseline interior project. So maximum you can get 2 points. So what is path 1? Path 1 might be utilizing about any salvaged materials or reused materials or whatever it is. So it is like if you do only building LCA, you will get 1 point, and along with path 1, when you combine the performance of your building LCA result, will get you one more additional point, that is 2 points. So under ID plus C framework, using building LCA, how many points you can get maximum? 2 points, right? So along with this path 2, if you have any other paths are there, and if you can make combinations of synergies, then you may able to get additional 1 point or couple of points. But with respect to building LCA, this is the combinations we have, right? So if you take BD plus C on the left side, so whole building life cycle assessment comes under material and resource credit option 2. So here you can get a maximum of 3 points. So what it suggests under option 2, and with respect to path 3, conduct a life cycle assessment of the project structure and enclosure that demonstrates a minimum of 10% reduction compared with the baseline building in at least 3 of the 6 impact categories listed below, one of which must be GWP. So listed below, this is now as directly copied from the credit library in lead, so that only this is stating that listed below. So normally building level LCA is to be done based on ISO 14040 and 44 and EN 15978 guidelines. So accordingly, when you perform, you will get some 7 different impact categories for your base case as well as proposed case. So by comparing those two cases, and out of the 6 impact categories, 3 of which should have a minimum of 10% reduction, and out of the 3, one should be GWP, which means global warming potential, as the impact category. That's what they are telling. So that would get you 3 points, right? So if you get more percentage of reduction, that is what it is saying. If you simply done that LCA, then you will get 1 mark, 1 point. If you get like more than 3 what to say impact categories more than 10%, it would be 2 points. Or if you get more than 15% or 20 plus percentage reduction in 3 of the categories, then you may get 3 points, like that. So maximum eligible point under whole building life cycle assessment concept is 3 in case of BD plus C framework. So this is why we talk about whole building LCA. This is completely in terms of green building certificate facilitations. Apart from that, for example, if an MNC company is there who is running a software consulting or outsourcing in India, like TCS, CTS, Infosys, Wipro, all those things. So they themselves is a huge, company. They run a service based business by doing the outsourcing of IT projects. So for their buildings, which means in their operation, their buildings are also would come into the picture. And when they calculate their scope wise emissions for the purpose of their ESG reporting or sustainability reporting, under scope 3, capital goods and certain assets, those and all are subsets of scope 3 will come into the calculation. So there their office buildings would come into the picture. So there, not for the purpose of green building certificate facilitation, but for the purpose of calculating scope 3, they may need to do this building level LCA and get that GWP value so authenticatively, so that they can make use one proper software based results of building LCA for both the green building certification as well as sustainability reporting also, right? So how it is done? So typically the whole building LCA is famously and typically done with one click LCA across the globe, but still not one click LCA is the ultimate tool. You should understand that regional wise free sources are also there, like Athena impact assessment tool for buildings, so which is highly meant for North American region, right? But still one click LCA is a kind of a popular one, we can say. So how it is done in one click LCA software? This is that workflow. So first step is project study and collection of BOQ or floor plans. Then the baseline scenario establishment has to be done so as to understand the initial threshold or benchmark of carbon footprint per gross floor area in that particular region. So within which one click LCA tool, there is a specified feature called Carbon Designer 3D, through which we can perform that baseline scenario establishment. Then once the scenario is getting understood preliminarily, then you can go for modeling baseline case, then you can go for modeling the proposed case. So once both the cases are being modeled, and now you can compare the baseline and proposed case for further optimization. So once that optimization is done and you can able to see good amount of improvements with respect to several impact categories between baseline and proposed cases, then you can go ahead and prepare reports on baseline scenario establishment and LCA narrative. Then you can compile the final report for whole building LCA, and ultimately you can now move to the lead portal where you can fill the credit form and upload the required documents for material credit, either for 2 points or 3 points depending on what portfolio of projects you are applying, whether it is ID plus C or BD plus C. So we have from Carbon Figure Academy an upcoming online live certificate course on whole building LCA. So this is that simple flyer we have made. So it is a 5 days online certificate course on whole building life cycle assessment, so which is going to happen between July 21 and July 25. So between evening 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. IST. So it is Indian Standard Time. So those people who are from different countries, you can align with this particular timing. So if at all, if you can't align completely, then you don't need to worry about. We will provide daily recording session and their access to you, so that you can match up your learning experiences, right? And you will get 6 months of access to the recorded sessions, right? Even after getting certified. So day one of the training will cover introduction to sustainable construction and telling about some broader perspective about global requirement, a necessity towards sustainability, and why we need to look for construction under sustainability lens, right? Then in day two we will be completely focusing on embodied carbon. So what is embodied carbon? What is that exact meaning? How to differ it from operational carbon, and how to measure them? Measuring in terms, what are all the technical tools are there, and where you can assess for certain data sets for embodied carbon of building materials, paid and unpaid. All those things will be elaborated and provided some simple hands-on demo. And finally, how to mitigate embodied carbon, those strategies will be explained. That is about day 2. And in day 3 there will be detailed discussion on methodology of whole building LCA. Why this entire course is being offered? The idea is to impart the required fundamental knowledge about whole building level LCA, because people are simply thinking, okay, what software tool I should use, okay, let me go and use that. So they are straight away jumping into the tool without understanding the fundamental theoretical concepts. So right, so that is the major idea of this particular course. And it's not simply talking theory, but with complete technical and tools supported theoretical concepts. So that's why day 2 we will be talking about embodied carbon tools in major scope, and in day 3 we will have complete theoretical and calculation background of that building level LCA, how the calculation is done in the software, so that you can understand the actual mechanism behind the typical software results, right? Why you need this? Because when you do this whole building LCA in softwares, in whatever software, you would need to face the comments from the lead team, and there you will struggle. They will ask qualitative questions, not quantitative questions. So first of all, their questions will be like in number of some 6 to 7 lines, 8 lines. So as a building LCA practitioner in your company, you should be able to first interpret their question, what they are actually asking, what is the meaning, and why they are asking. Is that important question to be asked? So that knowledge is missing. That is what we felt, and we are coming up with this particular practical aspects of this whole building LCA, right? So on day 4 we will be focusing on whole building life cycle assessment in green building certification frameworks. So we will cover LEED V4.1 and LEED V5 with respect to whole building LCA, and we will also cover IGBC net zero carbon framework. And during that day 4 we will be elaborately focusing on the documentation requirements with respect to LEED, or you can say LEED or IGBC or whatever it is, documentation requirements for your submissions. So what kind of documentation you should need, how to prepare them, and I would also demonstrate with some sample documents, right, without any confidential informations, right? Then on day 5, finally the day 5 will be having a hands-on demo of LEED version 5 compliant WBLCA tools such as One Click LCA and Athena impact assessment for buildings. So why V5? Because from LEED version 5, the whole building LCA is going to be mandatory in all LEED certification categories like silver, gold, platinum, whatever it is. If you want to get LEED certification, you have to perform that building level LCA. So in current V 4.1, it is in optional category only, but in LEED version 5, it has been changed into prerequisite category, which means it is mandatory, right? So and also there are some maximum points up to 8 points. So you can compare. Just now we have seen that in LEED V 4.1 you can get either 2 or 3 points maximum with the whole building LCA, but in LEED version 5 it is about 8 points. Just one subcredit holds 8 major points, right? So under materials and resources category. So that is the idea why this particular course is being offered, because whole building LCA is going to be mandatory from next year onwards, either it is in from April or in May, for all LEED certificate building certification frameworks. So it would automatically trigger the demand in the market for certified professionals or knowledgeful professionals on building LCA, right? So that is the ultimate aim of this particular course. So who can take this particular course? So industry professionals who are working in construction sector and especially green building facilitation programs. If you are in construction sector as an industry professional, then this course is for you, right? No matter you are working in design, or you are in procurement, or you are in site, no issues. You have to learn about this particular course, because you are going to hear this embodied carbon, green material, low carbon material, across your work locations. So you should know what it is and why it is important, right? Then students of various capacities from UG, PG and PhD programs, especially in civil, architecture and allied disciplines, right? So some infrastructure engineering would be there. So it's all civil construction related disciplines. You can take up this course, and you can add your skills under building level LCA with some tool exposures with respect to embodied carbon, building LCA, and this day 2 and day 5 will give you lot of introduction to new tools which you can directly use in your college level projects or competitions, get lot of exposures. And because of this course, I can guarantee the students that you can get into a great internship opportunities with big MNCs in terms of this, green building or sustainable architecture in those kind of areas. I can guarantee you. Then same way, faculty members and research faculty, those who working in civil and architecture related disciplines, can definitely take this course and understand how you can expand your research activities from material level to building level LCAs. And finally, this course is for anyone who is looking for upskilling in building plus sustainability nexus, right? So for any queries, you can contact the WhatsApp number anytime, or you can post your query in that mail as well. Thank you. Before winding up, this particular course is going to be offered between July 21 and 25 of 2025, because you may watch this particular video in any point of the time. So if at all, if you want to take this particular course. Once that live program is completed, the same course will be available under self-paced mode also. So no issues if you missed that particular timeline. You can always reach out to that WhatsApp number or mail ID so that you can still take the course in self-paced mode also. Thank you.